Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling a massive challenge that affects, well, virtually every industrial workplace on the planet. We're setting an ambitious goal for ourselves, moving away from a traditional, reactive safety culture and transforming it into a living, breathing, interdependent one. And we're going to do this using the proven tools of behavior-based safety, or BBS. If you've ever found yourself wondering why your safety initiatives just seem to hit a brick wall, you are absolutely in the right place.
So here's our roadmap for today's journey. We'll start with the Safety Culture Challenge, then look at the DuPont-Bradley curve, dive into the ABC behavior model, explore implementing behavior-based safety, walk through the 5-step coaching flow, and finally talk about achieving that interdependent culture.
All right, part 1, the Safety Culture Challenge. Let's jump right in.
To really ground this theory, we need to look at a highly relatable scenario straight from the shop floor. I want to start by posing a critical question to you all. Why do experienced, highly trained workers knowingly bypass safety rules? I mean, think about it. We aren't talking about rookies here who just don't know any better. We're talking about seasoned veterans. This happens even in the absolute best, most heavily regulated facilities. But why?
Well, let's look at a case study. Meet Saeed. He's a mechanic with 12 solid years of experience under his belt. One day, 2 hours before the end of his shift, a vital production line breaks down because of a clogged valve located about 3.5 meters high. Naturally, Saeed is dispatched to fix it. Now he knows the rules. He knows he should get an approved mobile scaffold, put on his harness, and file a work at height permit. But the scaffolding is all the way across the plant. It's going to take 25 minutes just to set the whole thing up. So, feeling the intense pressure of those production deadlines breathing down his neck, Saeed takes a massive shortcut. He literally becomes a circus acrobat to save 20 minutes, grabbing 2 empty metal barrels, stacking them up, and climbing on top without a shred of fall protection or even safety glasses. And he actually clears the blockage in just 15 minutes.
And here is where we hit a really shocking paradox. He finishes the job quickly, the line restarts, and guess what happens? He gets immediate verbal praise from his production supervisor for his quick thinking and for avoiding a delivery delay. No way, right? He did something incredibly dangerous, yet he was directly rewarded for saving production time.
Which brings us to part 2, the DuPont-Bradley curve.
You see, what happened with Saeed wasn't just some isolated individual failure. It was a glaring symptom of the overall organizational culture. To diagnose that, we use a really fantastic tool, the DuPont-Bradley curve. Developed back in 1995, it beautifully illustrates how safety culture matures over time. It moves through 4 distinct stages. Stage 1 is reactive, meaning safety is mostly based on natural instinct and, frankly, luck. Stage 2 is dependent. Safety relies on strict supervision, rigid rules, and the fear of discipline. Stage 3 is independent. This is where safety finally becomes a personal habit. The worker protects themselves even when nobody is watching. And finally, Stage 4 is interdependent, where safety is a shared, team-wide responsibility. Workers actively look out for one another.
So the absolutely crucial point here is the stark contrast between the two ends of this spectrum. In a reactive culture, you're looking at the highest injury rates because safety is just an afterthought. It's exactly the kind of environment Saeed was operating in, where quick fixes trumped the rules. But our ultimate goal is that interdependent culture on the far right. The core driver there is shared responsibility and teamwork, always aiming for absolute zero harm. In a truly interdependent culture, Saeed's peers would have stepped in and stopped him before he even placed a foot on that first barrel.
Let's move on to part 3, analyzing behavior with the ABC model. To figure out how to get from where Saeed is to where we actually want to be, we've got to shift from macro-organizational culture down to human psychology. We need to analyze why people actually take risks in the real world. And this brings us to the ABC model of applied behavioral science. A stands for antecedents. Those are the triggers that prompt behavior, like warning signs, training, or written procedures. B is the behavior itself, and C is the consequence, the outcome of that specific action. Now, here's the secret. Antecedents, like that nice warning sign on the wall, only account for about 20% of why we do things. It's the consequences that drive the remaining 80%.
Now notice how we can actually categorize those consequences. We look at timing. Is it happening soon or later? Certainty. Is it certain or uncertain to happen? And impact. Is it positive or negative for the worker? Let's look at Saeed's shortcut. Saving time and effort, that was soon, certain, and positive for him. That's a pick. What about the supervisor's praise? Also, soon, certain, and positive. Another pick. But what about the risk of falling and getting hurt? Well, that's soon, but highly uncertain and obviously negative. That makes it a sun. And the threat of an administrative penalty from the safety officers, that's later, uncertain, and negative, a lun.
The math here is just undeniable, folks. Pick outcomes, positive, immediate, and certain, are the single strongest drivers of human behavior. LUN outcomes, late, uncertain, and negative, are quite literally the weakest. So Saeed's dangerous behavior wasn't malicious or crazy. It was perfectly humanly logical because his environment heavily rewarded his shortcut with strong picks. To change the behavior, we have to change the consequences.
All right, part 4. Implementing behavior-based safety. That deep understanding of the ABC model leads us perfectly into the actual solution, behavior-based safety, or BBS. Think of BBS as the engine that physically drives a company into the interdependent stage of the Bradley curve by entirely re-engineering these consequences. But actually, let me stress this right now, empathetically. BBS is never, ever a policing tool. It is not about blaming the worker. It's a collaborative, transparent, peer-to-peer system that is designed to identify and remove the systemic barriers that make the unsafe choice the easier choice. When we do BBS observations on the floor, we categorize the root causes of risky behaviors. Look at this list here. You've got design gaps, lack of tools, time pressure, lack of training, poor physical environment, and just plain old habit. Connect this right back to our guy Saeed. Why did he climb those barrels? Well, mostly because of C2, a lack of readily available tools since the scaffolding was 25 minutes away. And C3, extreme time pressure and production priorities. The system failed Saeed way before Saeed ever failed the system.
Part 5, the 5-step coaching flow.
So the big question, how do we actually correct this in the moment on the floor? We use what's called the 5-step coaching flow. This is the exact step-by-step methodology that supervisors and peers need to use to correct behavior positively. The observer has to step in and act as a coach, definitely not a cop. The entire goal is to resolve risks through empathetic, non-punitive dialogue. It is all about building trust and mutual respect right there in the moment, so the worker feels heard and the real systemic issue gets documented.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that supervisor should have approached Saeed instead of just praising him. Step 1, pause and connect. Wait for a completely safe moment to approach and greet him warmly. Step 2, positive reinforcement. Praise something he's doing right, maybe his quick response time, just to lower his defenses. Step 3, engage. Ask an open question like, "Hey Saeed, can you walk me through how you're reaching that valve?" Step 4, uncover barriers. Find out why he's doing it that way. This is where Saeed gets to say, "Look, the scaffold takes way too long and the line is completely down." And finally, step 5, commit and correct. Agree on a safe solution together, like, say, getting a permanent hydraulic lift installed for this specific valve.
Finally, part 6, achieving interdependent culture.
Okay, let's drive this explainer right toward the finish line. We've seen the problem, the psychology behind it, and the coaching flow. But how do all these moving parts create actual long-term cultural change? Well, you have to track the right data. Success isn't just about counting how many accidents you had last month. That's just a lagging indicator. A mature safety system tracks leading indicators, specifically the safe behavior percentage. This is the ratio of safe behaviors to total observed behaviors. By analyzing the raw data from all those 5-step coaching conversations, the organization can systematically fix engineering flaws, update procedures, and ensure continuous organizational learning. This brings us to the core philosophy of the interdependent stage on the Bradley curve. Safety completely stops being a checklist. It transforms into a shared organizational identity. Everyone is genuinely responsible for everyone else's safety. It's no longer about avoiding a penalty, it's about protecting your team. By the way, the structured implementation framework we've explored today, which does a fantastic job of bridging the Bradley curve with the ABC model and real BBS tactics, was officially prepared by consultant and certified safety manager Tamer Abdullah Sharaki. It's just a highly comprehensive approach that turns high-level safety theory into actionable daily leadership habits. I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to end on. Think about your own workplace or your own team right now. Stop asking why workers are breaking the rules and start asking yourselves, what is one systemic barrier that you can remove today to make the safe choice the easy choice? Because if you fix the system, I promise you, the behavior will follow. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking those right questions.